Back to Mighty Microbe channel. Today we are back with the topic that is another pathway, which is Hexose Monophosphate pathway, or we called it as pentose phosphate pathway or phosphogluconate pathway. So friends, you may have doubt in your mind that why it is called as shunt. Why this HMP pathway it is called as shunt? Because it involves some reactions of the glucose pathway, and hence it acts as a shunt for glycolysis. And this hexose monophosphate pathway, it takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell, and in plants, in plastic it is present. So the main function of this HMP pathway is to generate NADPH and pentose as well as ribose 5 phosphate, and it also act intermediate for the biosynthesis of nucleic acid and amino acids. And this HMP pathway, it is anabolic pathway. HMP pathway, it occurs in the two phases. The first one is oxidative phase and the second one is non-oxidative phase. So we'll begin with the description about the HMP pathway. So firstly, glucose 6 phosphate, it is dehydrogenated, converted into 6 phosphogluconolactone in the presence of glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase. In this reaction, one molecule of NADP, it is converted into NADPH. Now the second conversion, that is 6 phosphogluconolactone, it is converted into 6 phosphogluconate in presence of 6 phosphogluconolactonase. Then 6 phosphogluconolactone, it is converted into ribulose 5 phosphate in the presence of 6 phosphogluconate dehydrogenase by oxidative decarboxylation. So here it is dehydrogenated, here it is hydrolyzed, and here oxidative decarboxylation takes place. So after that, the next phase, it is non-oxidative phase. This is non-oxidative phase and this one is oxidative phase. So in non-oxidative phase, this ribulose 5 phosphate, it is isomerized into xylose 5 phosphate and ribulose 5 phosphate in presence of ribulose 5 phosphate isomerase. Here ketolase enzyme, it transfer carbon group from ketose to aldose, that is ribulose 5 phosphate, to obtain glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate and pseudoheptulose 7 phosphate. After that, with the help of transaldolase, again transfer a carbon group from pseudoheptulose 7 phosphate to glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate, that is aldolase, to produce the product, that is fructose 6 phosphate and erythrose 7 phosphate. Then a carbon from xylulose 5 phosphate is transferred to erythrose 4 phosphate in the presence of transketolase to obtain glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate and fructose 6 phosphate. And here in written, the detailed explanation about oxidative phase of pentose phosphate pathway, it is given. As I've said, it is responsible for the generation of NADPH, and here glucose 6 phosphate, it is converted into 6 phosphogluconate with the help of enzyme 6 glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase, and NADP, it is reduced to NADPH. Then after that, this 6 phosphogluconolactone, it is again hydrolyzed into 6 phosphogluconate with the help of enzyme 6 phosphogluconolactonase. Then after that, 6 phosphogluconate dehydrogenase enzyme, it converts 6-phosphogluconate to ribulose 5-phosphate, and here also again second molecule of NADPH it is generated. This series of reaction not only generates NADP but it also produced ribulose 5-phosphate, which is a non-oxidative phase product. So here this non-oxidative phase product, it is responsible for the creation of ribulose 5-phosphate. Here ribulose 5-phosphate, it is converted into ribose 5-phosphate with the help of enzyme ribose 5-phosphate isomerase. Then it is converted into xylulose 5-phosphate with the help of enzyme ribulose 5-phosphate 3 isomerase. Then this ribulose 5-phosphate and xylulose 5-phosphate, it converts into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate, and this reaction, it is catalyzed by transketolase. Here the reaction is shown. After that, the next is this pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it is converted into erythrose 4-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate, and it requires the enzyme catalyzing reaction which is transaldolase. And finally xylulose 5-phosphate and erythrose 4-phosphate, it converts into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate, and this reaction, it is catalyzed by transketolase. So this was the explanation about the HMP pathway, or we call it as HMP shunt. Now there is a simple trick to remember this HMP shunt. So glucose 6-phosphate, that is GIRL, 6-phosphogluconolactone prefer 6-phosphogluconate, GIRL prefer pocket, ribulose 5-phosphate pocket packet. After that xylulose 5-phosphate, that is Xmas Christmas, ribulose 5-phosphate ribbon. After that pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate stars, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, that is glittering, erythrose 4-phosphate, that is everyone, fructose 6-phosphate food, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate grapes wine, fructose 6-phosphate filled. So GIRL prefer pocket packet, the Christmas. So Christmas ribbon, stars, glittering, everyone, food filled with grape wine. So this was a small trick to remember this HMP pathway. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe my channel.